Welcome, everyone. We are still here, still running, still carrying the flame and celebrating Earth Day. I'm Sara Roversi, the founder of the Future Food Institute, and I'm very honored to be now in South Africa. We started this journey this morning, very early here in Italy, together with our partner, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And also, we are very proud to be official partner of Earth Day, the big summit that is taking place now in Washington, D.C., and Connect for Climate, the agency of the World Bank that is tackling the climate crisis. Now, let's explore Africa, starting from South Africa. Today, we have been hearing voices from everywhere in the eastern part of the world. We have been hearing the voices of youth, of activists, of farmers, of chefs, of scientists, also Nobel Prize, and last but not least, policymakers and ministers. And we are very honored to kick off this session in South Africa with the Minister of Agriculture, Minister Angela Toko Didiza. Please join me on stage, and we really look forward to hear how South Africa is driving and leading the transition towards the sustainable development framework and the 2030 agenda, connecting the health of people and the health of the planet. Okay, we wait just a few seconds to see if we can fix the technical issues. We need to turn on the camera, because if not, we cannot say appear on screen. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us. Say, while we are fixing the technical issues, let's move forward just for a few minutes. And I would love to start to hear the voices from, oh, here we are. Welcome, Minister. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining our World Marathon.
Well, it's evening in South Africa now, and I'm sure parts of Europe it's also evening, but it's still daylight in the US. So I would like to greet all of you in the different time zones where you are. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy, other ministers on this platform, our FAO Director General, FAO Deputies Director General, distinguished delegations from various countries, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an absolute honor and privilege to be granted this opportunity to share South Africa's testimony in this important event, where the theme of regenerating the planet through agri-food systems is addressed. This event takes place at the time of extreme circumstances as the world is faced with unprecedented impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic laid bare the fault lines in global food supply value chains. These fault lines can call for honest deliberations on how the current global food systems can be future-proofed to ensure security of supply to the growing world population that is expected to reach 8.5 billion by the year 2030. The agricultural sector, while generally susceptible to a plethora of risks such as climate change, pest diseases, and plant diseases, it has remarkable resilience. In South Africa, after the protracted drought in many areas of our country, agriculture grew by 13% year on year in 2020. This was underlined by a bumper summer crop and record export citrus season. All of this growth was experienced during a year where we experienced movement restrictions due to COVID-19. The growth of our sector in a period of restricted movement makes today's topic interesting. In our country, at the advent of the movement restrictions of 26 March 2021, almost a year ago, agriculture was declared an essential service, and as such, the majority of the sector was exempted from the harshest lockdown regulations throughout the national lockdown period. However, even with these exemptions, there were minor disruptions on the agro-food systems in South Africa. These included disruptions of local markets, especially for smallholder farmers, food imports and export flows, and temporary increased demand and shortage of certain food products, especially during the early stages of the hard lockdown. Through partnerships with sector stakeholders, these disruptions were resolved and the sector managed to rebound. The importance of public-private partnership in agriculture to promote transformation and ensure sustainable growth in the country during this period can therefore not be underestimated. Chairperson, at the continental level in Africa, the ministers responsible for agriculture and food security met on the 16th of April 2020 to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on the sector. The ministers were then concerned about the challenges posed by the pandemic on the already strained health, food and nutrition security, and the broad socio-economic conditions in our continent. The ministers agreed on a declaration of food security and nutrition during the COVID-19 pandemic. They agreed that it was important to use crop calendar and recommend actions during COVID-19 outbreaks in our region, ensuring effective social protection response and inclusive recovery in context of COVID-19 in the continent, instituting measures for supporting domestic market in the context of COVID-19, taking advantage of the mechanisms of the newly created Africa Continental Free Trade Area and safeguarding input supplies and lessening dependence on import of inputs. Priorities for my country, particularly on the agri-food system, if I were to summarize those, is intensifying agricultural production, increasing agricultural investments, improving access to land, particularly the expansion of farmland, which is critical towards strengthening the agricultural sector in South Africa amidst this pandemic. My department is accelerating land redistribution through a variety of instruments such as land restitution, as well as redistribution. We're currently, as government, in the process of redistributing about 700,000 hectares of underutilized or vacant land, which has been in the hands of the state. This is one of the deliberate strategies to transform the agricultural sector in order to allow new players from historically disadvantaged backgrounds to participate. As we do so, we've deliberately targeted youth, women, as well as people with disabilities. The other area of our focus is improving market access. We are also pursuing programs to assist our smallholder farmers with market access to develop skills across the entire agricultural value chain. To this effect, my department has been partnering with Japan International Cooperation Agency to implement the smallholder horticulture empowerment and promoting SHEP program. This program is important because it's not only linking South Africa with Japan through its agency JICA, but it's also creating solidarity with other African countries on how we can improve smallholder agriculture. We also are strengthening public-private partnership in ensuring that we are able to utilize the various expertise that lie within the private sector, within the labor movement, within government and communities, particularly farmers, on how best we can ensure that this sector remains resilient and be able to ensure food security at household level as well as at national level. It is also important, particularly given that we're dealing with the management of our natural resource, which is the earth. How do we ensure as a country that we cope with climate change? As a country, we're continuously developing and implementing adaptive strategies to cope with climate change and the challenge of water scarcity, as most of our land is arid and semi-arid. The principle of producing more with less is promoted. Farming methods such as precision farming, conservation agriculture, climate-smart farming, and urban agriculture are considered as approaches to produce more with less in the country. We also are working as part of the Presidential Coordination Commission on Climate Change, which actually at a government level, as well as working with our partners in the civil society, private sector, and labor, we actually are looking at how collectively as a country we can ensure that we meet our commitments that we have made on climate change. The Commission will work on a plan for a just transition to a low carbon economy and climate resilient society. We know that even though agriculture may not be the major polluter, but some of the inputs that we use do pollute not only our earth, but also our waters. And therefore, we are developing a long-term strategy on how, as agriculture, we can make our contribution towards climate change. As we deliberate on the sustainability of agri-food systems, it is important that we are at the same time champions of environmental protection. As such, the country has the Land Care Program, which addresses the problem of invasive alien plant species, among others, but at the same time, reclaiming the soils that have been degraded either by overuse, in particular overgrazing on those lands. My department further encourages each household to produce their own food, including to plant at least one fruit tree per family. The agricultural sector is the most sensitive of all sectors after biodiversity and must adapt to the variable climate conditions. Vulnerable farming communities must take a center stage in their own mitigation and adaptation because as a country, we are a water-scarce country. We continue to work with farmers to ensure that they too make their contribution in conserving our natural resource that is very scarce. We persistently plead with our producers to strengthen their biosecurity measures in an effort towards strengthening the competitiveness of our export market by maintaining our disease-free status to stimulate confidence in most of our export destinations. The Good Green Deeds program is implemented by our Department of Environment, Forestry, and Fisheries. This is aimed at encouraging the starting of vegetable gardens in unused spaces of our peri-urban areas. We're also working with the Minister of Education to promote school gardening program, either schools using those for experimental purposes as well as their own food security. Or if they are not using such spaces, give such spaces to those vulnerable in the community to cultivate their own food. It is a new program, but we continue to ensure that it grows from strength to strength. We all need to pull together as a collective in the whole world towards ensuring that agri-food systems remain sustainable. And I'm sure in this discussion today, we will be able to listen to what strategies each one of us can actually employ, so that as the global community, we can hold each other's hands in ensuring that indeed our agri-food system remain sustainable. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being with us, Minister Toko Didiza. What you have been saying is something that is really touching all the dots that we were highlighting today. The crucial role of agriculture, the crucial role of farmers, the importance of land, of preserving land and making it accessible and available, and care about the land. So we are very glad to have the opportunity to be in South Africa, because also from South Africa, we met many young innovators that are accelerating innovations also in farming system. And also, we have many fellows of the programs that we are organizing together with FAOs that are located in South Africa, innovating in South Africa. So now, I would love, after this inspiring speech, I would love to invite an innovators. Ikenna Netzewi, I hope I pronounced your name properly. I'm so sorry, but we're a bit tired because we are awake, presenting and talking since hours and hours after we crossed the entire world. He is the CEO of Relief Group. Please, we really would love to know more about your project.
Definitely, and thank you so much for having me today. I'll just share my screen and share some slides to also carry you along with some of our journey. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are, and happy Earth Day to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Like was mentioned, my name is Ikenna Netzewi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Relief. We are an agro-technology company out of the United States that operates in Nigeria, which is my home country. Our mission is to create Africa's decentralized food processing industry. We think that agricultural systems have become a little bit too centralized in the past, and it doesn't work with Africa's style of agricultural production. And so because we have a lot of farmers and we have a lot of decentralized supply, we need to also place the machines that add value to those commodities near farmers. And so we like to think about it as a factory in every neighborhood that can add value to commodities and help smallholders do better as well. And so our company operates in Nigeria's oil palm sector. I want to caveat that this is sustainable oil palm. So 80% of the oil palm that is produced in Nigeria comes from smallholder farmers. These are folks that have cultivated these crops for thousands of years because, in fact, oil palm is indigenous to West Africa and Nigeria. Now, this market is $3 billion on an annual basis. And like I said, the dominant style of production is via smallholder farmers. However, these smallholders have a lot of trouble achieving the productivity that has been seen in other parts of the world. And it's generally difficult for them because there is a slow level of production that they have. And so when a smallholder has a slow level of production and they need to sell their crops to pay their bills, they generally cannot supply factories directly because they don't have enough raw material to put on a truck on their own. And so they sell these commodities to aggregators. These aggregators or traders reduce margins for both farmers and factories and make it more difficult for both players to achieve the profitability that they need to scale and sustainably create the food that we need. And so what our company does is we develop both hardware and software. My co-founders are both mechanical engineers who studied MIT and Duke University, and I studied computer science at Yale. And we built out a solution called SALT, which is our software solution, and a piece of food processing technology that's called Kraken, which basically helps process these commodities so that farmers can save time and make more money. And so Project Kraken is our proprietary piece of technology that we've developed and are currently patenting. It's an oil palm desheller. In fact, it's actually Africa's leading palm nut desheller. And so it can process over 100 tons of raw material per day, whereas the dominant style of production today for cracking these nuts by smallholders is to have a rock in their hand and to crack open these nuts on the floor. And so we're kind of taking this industry into the next century, out of the 19th century or 20th century and into the 21st century by developing this technology and deploying it. We're also able to deliver a much higher level of quality than other players in the market, being able to deliver raw material that is 99% pure when the current benchmark in the market is closer to 90% today. Now, beyond the hardware that we've developed in our business, we've also developed software that's used for identifying where raw material is in the market, texting farmers and telling them the price that we're buying at, and then having our sourcing officers come to those farmers, purchase their raw materials, and also provide them with access to finance. So we finance smallholder farmers. We kicked off a pilot just last month, but it's been going really well. 100% of our beneficiaries are women, and 100% of them have paid us back. And so we give out loans that range from $100 to $300 at a 5% interest rate. And we allow farmers to pay us back with their palm nuts, which they have trouble processing, rather than them having to pay us back in cash. And so this allows farmers to do quicker working capital cycles and improve their productivity by 1.5x. We also form farmers into clusters, and they cross-guarantee each other. So basically, a farmer comes into a cluster, and if a number of farmers in that cluster default, then the other farmers in that cluster are also suspended for a short period of time from our financing. And so it allows communities to be thoughtful about who they bring into their cluster and to make sure that they help each other achieve the results that we need. Now, beyond just financing working capital for the farmers and helping them produce more, we also get them better technology. And so the technology that's used in the market today is outdated, and it doesn't get as much of the extraction of the oil that the farmers need. And so we are now deploying technology that will allow smallholders to double their processing capacity and increase their profitability by over 30%. And that leads to a doubled capacity for extraction and 1.5 times the productivity from not having to do this handheld rock cracking. And our objective is to triple the income of the smallholders that we work with. We believe very strongly in the long-term potential of light processing capacity that is right in the neighborhood of farmers, where factories can be engaged members of the communities, providing access to markets, finance, and best knowledge on agricultural practices. And we also see where the world population is going. By 2100, Africa's share of the population will be 40% of the global population, and our food consumption will be similar as well. And by 2050, we'll be 25% of the overall global population. And so there's a really interesting and important opportunity in this day and age to figure out ways to strengthen and make our food systems more resilient, because the people are coming, if you will. And we believe that this impact can be scaled by working with other multinationals, and that we as Relief can work directly with smallholders, helping move production products directly to market without loss, and then partnering with a lot of these large multinationals who have great consumer brand products and know how to get their products into consumers' hands. And so I hope this quick overview of some of our work was helpful and interesting. You can find me on LinkedIn to connect, and it was a real pleasure to be able to speak. Thank you. I am finished if it's going to shift over to other people. Thank you so much for your time.
Here we are. I'm so sorry, we had a little disconnection, just a few seconds our line went down. I'm here back again. Thank you so much. What we are hearing are really revolutionary ideas, projects that can really accelerate this transition that is needed to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And communities, platforms, those are the crucial things we need to connect. Excellent work you're doing, Ikenna, really an excellent work. And I want to thank also, of course, our representative in South Africa, and also our friends from the Arambians group that have been connecting us with tons of innovators and beautiful best practices. This is what we're doing today. There's no time anymore just to talk about sustainability. What Ikenna is doing is showing really that we can jump into action and implement innovations that can become also successful businesses. And so this is what we need now. Action, action, action. And to end up this session in South Africa, I want to invite Julia and our climate shapers, because really action is what we love. Please join me on stage. Hi, Sammy. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. I leave the stage to you. I'm super glad to see you back and say virtually to be in your world today. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're a bit tired, but this journey has been super inspiring, pretty overwhelming, because in every country we are getting tons of insightful stories and projects, inspiring words. So it's really amazing what we have the chance to hear today. It's a blessing. And now I leave the stage to you guys. We really would love to know more about the project, how it's evolving, and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I'll start off. So my name's Sammy, and along with Desigan and a few other climate shapers from the Future Food Institute and FAO Bootcamp last year, at the end of last year, we participated in this hackathon, and the Food Vision team had the challenge of how might we strengthen a consumer's connection to their climate impact. That was the challenge that was posed to us. And so this team of climate shapers that were based around Europe, but also in Cape Town, South Africa, started thinking. And we knew that many people still did not have a strong understanding of the impacts of climate change. And if they did, they didn't necessarily have the connection with food and climate so strong in their minds. And in many cases, people are feeling overwhelmed and burdened by what they could possibly be doing. The problems were feeling very daunting. And so in thinking about that, we really wanted to connect with consumers who had little to no climate impact at all. And we wanted to engage with them, inspire them, and try to think of a way that everyone could come along on this ride with us. And so we came up with the idea to do and produce televised, community-based climate action competitions. And the idea was to basically have a competition reality type show that would show easily and in a fun, engaging way how people can connect food and climate and make significant changes in their community with their community members. So how it would work is that people could apply as individuals or as a team of two, and then we would match them with other people that have applied in their community, so that there's this element of community building and networking. And then they would select a topic within the umbrella of food and climate, and that could be something to do with cooking and maybe food waste, or something to do with upgrading some sort of food business or the use of public space in their community. And over the course of a few months, we would follow them and engage with them and connect them with local experts to kind of develop that idea further. And it would all lead up to a final judging and competition where the winner would win a cash prize. And after winning this cash prize, they move on to the next level, which is maybe at the city level, and the city levels would go on to country levels. And our idea was really to have this be something that could be replicated in many places around the world. We wanted, on the participant side, obviously thinking of people who are maybe working class and want to be involved in things, but have a lot of other pressing issues. We wanted it to be attractive to them. That's why the cash prize is there. We want it to be fun and engaging, and for them, maybe visibility and whatnot. And for the audience, we wanted people to feel like they could relate to these everyday people and and also feel inspired, and then also entertained, because it is a TV show. And we see how many people love these competition shows like Music Vision, what is it called? So that's kind of where the inspiration comes, something like this. And we decided to do a pilot in South Africa, in Cape Town. And we did that largely because of Desigan's connections there. And through our collaboration with Fund Social Good. So anyone watching, if you'd like to know more about Food Vision and where we're at and the steps we're taking at the moment, great to get in touch with Fund Social Good as our local partner.
Yeah, I'd like to just add something as well, Sarah. When we looked at the opportunities and the different things that we could work on, this was really, really exciting to us because it had the potential to have massive change at the grassroots level, at the people who are really not connected, and connecting them to how their daily purchases, actually literally what they buy on a daily basis, can have an impact on the climate and also on their systems as well. So we're super excited about it, especially launching it down here in Cape Town. We're looking forward to that, and we're inviting those that are based over here to reach out to us to learn more, and take it forward.
That's great, and we would love to support you at a global scale. I think that this is pretty interesting because today we showed also how crucial is the need of taking those topics to the broader audience, to kids, to youth, to teenagers, because we need to have them to understand the complexity of food. Every decision related to food is of course talking about diplomacy, is talking about economy, is talking about ecology, is talking about culture, identity. Many issues are related to that. So to understand the complexity of the food system, we also need ways to communicate to the broader audience. And I think that your project is one of those projects that can really touch the heart and talk the language of people. So thank you so much, because in this session, we have been really highlighting the different perspective, understanding what a country needs to move forward and tackle the SDGs, starting from policy and strategies. We heard the voice of an entrepreneur talking about how he's making impact with his business and bringing innovation in a tangible manner. And now with you, we're talking about how we can empower people from the ground, the bottom up, with a process and inspire them to change. Thank you. It's been great to spend this time in South Africa virtually, together with the FAO, together with the Future Food Institute, hear your voices and connect you with our global marathon.